We all lied before. I have, you have, everyone has. And right now, I can't think of a better liar that does it with good intentions than Usopp. And as I'm watching One Piece for the first time, I didn't expect a character like Usopp to be so relatable. So in this video, I will be sharing my first time reaction to Syrup Village. So the arc begins with Nami stating that in order to get to the Grand Line, they're gonna need a proper ship. And luckily, they find Usopp, a young cheerful pirate with a long nose, who happens to know someone that can actually provide them that ship. And that someone is Kaya, a young and wealthy girl living in a mansion with the assistance of her butlers, Mary and Kuro, since both her parents died. Following this, we find out that Usopp and Kaya are actually friends, and he shares stories of being a pirate to her just to give her some company. But Kuro, one of Kaya's butlers, doesn't like the idea of Usopp hanging around with Kaya, as he claims that he's a pirate's son. Now, my reaction to this was quite funny, as we can see Luffy realizing that Usopp actually looks like someone that's familiar to him, and that was because Usopp is a carbon copy of his dad, Yasopp, who is a member of the Red Hair Pirates, which is the reason why Luffy knew him. But there is something important that we find out, and is that Kuro is actually a pirate, and his right hand, Django, are both plotting to assassinate Kaya and attack the village. And the reason why Kuro is doing this is very simple. He wants to inherit Kaya's fortune since he's rich. And in this case, this might sound weird, but I actually understand Kuro's ideals here. Wanting to obtain wealth while not living the pirate life is his ultimate goal. And to be honest, I respect that, as he believes having the Marines chasing you all the time is not beneficial at all, because you actually don't get a chance to enjoy the wealth that you obtain as a pirate. And while Kuro is telling Django the reasons why he wants to do this, Luffy and Usopp overheard all of his plans. But Django managed to use his power of hypnosis to put Luffy to sleep. Meanwhile, Usopp ran towards the village to tell everyone that they were going to be attacked. But nobody believed him. In fact, the people in the village got mad at Usopp because they thought that he was telling another one of his lies. Following this, Usopp went to tell Kaya about Kuro's plan to kill her and attack the village. But Kaya couldn't trust Usopp. She couldn't believe that Kuro, her loyal butler, would actually do that to her. But Usopp was so hell-bent to make Kaya believe him, since nobody else didn't. So this confrontation escalated to the point that Kaya slapped Usopp, and Mary shot him with a gun, which from Usopp's perspective, this was the ultimate betrayal and the sign that there was no way that I could convince anyone about Kuro's plan. And my reaction to Usopp crying at the fact that nobody believed him really hit me. For once, he was actually telling the truth to save everyone's life, but everybody turned their back on him. But Usopp still wanted to save everyone, which speaks of his qualities of a hero. And this is one of the only things that me and this character kind of don't relate with, the fact that Usopp wanted to still save the village. Because I'm not gonna lie, if that was me, I would have allowed Kuro to kill every single one of those civilians, boy, including Kaya. But Luffy and the others are able to see Usopp's desperation, so they offer to help him to stop the Kuro pirates from attacking the village. And this brings us to the night of the attack, where Usopp and the others are setting up a trap because they're so outnumbered by the Kuro pirates. But somehow the Kuro pirates managed to get into the village through a different location, which kind of blew the whole plan away to set up a trap for them. So because of that confusion, they all ended up separating, as Usopp and Nami ran into the correct direction, but Luffy and Zoro ran into a completely different direction. Meanwhile this was happening, Kuro made his first move and he tried to assassinate Mary, but Usopp and Nami made it just in time to stop the Kuro pirates from actually crossing the border to get to the village. And for a moment, Usopp and Nami are able to hold their own to stop the pirates from coming in, which is actually quite impressive. And that gave Zoro and Luffy time to make it to the location. And just when they got there, Django was able to give his crewmates enough power and strength to be able to fight Zoro and Luffy. And obviously Django's power is the power of hypnotism, so whoever is able to get hypnotized by Django will receive these powers. And Luffy actually fell for it, so he received that extra strength as well. But the problem is that it was a bit out of control, so Luffy was just attacking anyone that was in front of him, and just like that he was able to clear out most of the crew. So we skip to the moment where Kaya found Mary down in his last breath, as she was able to learn the truth about Kuro's evil plan and the fact that Usopp was not lying. And right here we see how Kaya starts to feel guilty for what she did to Usopp, and realizes that Usopp for once was actually telling the truth. So without hesitation, Kaya goes to find Kuro to convince him to stop the attack, as she was willing to give him the fortune that he wanted, as long as he didn't kill anyone. Following this, we turn back to the battle and we're introduced to the Meow Bam brothers, I think they're called, Sham and Buchi. And with Luffy being knocked out for a bit, the Meow Bam brothers targeted Zoro immediately, and he was able to keep up with both of them at the same time. And during this fight, we get to find out that Zoro, when he fights, is actually weaker with one sword rather than three. So imagine what he could have done if he had three swords at the start of the fight. He could have probably one-shotted each one of them. But here we get to see the most important moment, when Kuro shows up very angry angry at his crew for taking so long to initiate the attack and actually threatened to kill all of them. And while everyone was shocked that Kuro showed up, Zoro managed to get his swords back, so he was able to fight with 3 swords, and guess what happened? Yep, he one-shotted both Bocchi and Shams. And Bocchi begs Django to use his powers again to give him extra strength to take on Zoro by himself. But the moment is again stolen by the fact that Kaya now entered the stage, and she was able to encounter Kuro face to face and tried to resolve the situation by offering Kuro her wealth in exchange of not attacking the village or killing anyone. But Kuro refused the request. So we get the first clash between Kuro and Luffy, and on the other side we also have Zoro fighting above Bocchi. Now, because these two fights are taking place at the same time, Django takes advantage and goes straight after Kaya, but also told his pirate crew was made out of kids to protect Kaya and take her away from the battlefield. So then they started running away. And so this part of the arc brings us to the fight between Luffy and Kuro, as Zoro ended his fight very quick with Bocchi. And I'm starting to realize most of the Zoro fights ended on one shot, so I'm not sure. I think Zoro might be the strongest character in the story so far. But anyways, during the fight between Kuro and Luffy, it was clear that Kuro was a fighter that relied on his speed and quickness, often using misdirection to defend himself. So Luffy had to be very precise to be able to land a hit on him. Luffy just using his overwhelming strength wouldn't have been enough to defeat him, and we definitely see this in the exchange. And during this fight, we see Kuro's backstory and why he decided to leave the pirate world. As I mentioned earlier, Kuro is a pacifist, as he felt being a pirate was pointless because once you obtain the wealth and the fame, he couldn't live a peaceful life. So to prevent the Marines from chasing him, he decided to fake his capture by allowing Captain Morgan to claim the accomplishment, which explains why Captain Morgan was the captain of a Marine base. But anyways, we fast forward and we see that Luffy managed to deal the last blow on Kuro. Meanwhile, Usopp and Zoro went to stop Django from killing Kaya, and just like that, the Kuro pirates got defeated. And to wrap up the arc, Usopp disbands his crew of kids as he's ready to set sail to become a real pirate. Luffy, Nami and Zoro obtained the Going Merry from Kaya, and just moments before that, Usopp was about to leave. Luffy asked if he wanted to join his crew, and of course, Usopp accepted. But anyways, we've reached the end of the video, so guys, if you've liked this video, please like, and if you want to watch more, subscribe, because the next video, we're going to be talking about a floating restaurant in the middle of the sea. That's going to be quite interesting. But until the next one, take care, thank you very much for coming, and I'll see you guys later. Peace.